So in the last video, we talked about LangChain, what LangChain really is, why we use it, as some core components on LangChain like LLM, prompt templates, agent, chains, tools, and so on. Now, in this LangChain series, we're going to be taking this core component one by one. At the end, we can now build some AI applications with these core components. For this video, we are starting with prompt templates. So first of all, what is prompt? Prompt is just how we talk to the AI. Is it the instruction or question we give it? But how you structure your prompt can change everything. LangChain gives us tools to organize, reuse, and format prompts using prompt templates. So prompt templates give you consistency, readability, and reusability. Now that we understand what prompt template is, let's go ahead and create our first prompt template using LangChain. Okay, now before we get started, we need to have some things in place, right? We need to install some libraries that we'll be using. So we're using LangChain, LangChain Groq, Python.env, IPyKernel. So you need to install LangChain, right? LangChain Groq. Since we're using Groq AI, Python-.env. So this one is basically to load our environmental variables from .env file. Then IPyKernel, since we're using Jupyter Notebook. So for the .env, we'll be generating a Groq API key, right? So if you don't know how to generate one, you can just go to Groq AI Cloud and generate an API key. It's actually free. So if you generate this Groq API key, is what will give us access to Llama model. Actually, Llama model is Meta open source model, right? So that's what we're going to be working with for this project. Are going to be using it via Groq AI. So you need to go to Groq AI and generate your own API key. So this is Groq Cloud, right? You can just go to API key, click on create API key, generate your own, and go paste it on the .env file. Now we need to get started. So first and first, we need to load our environmental variables here. Is our Groq API key. We need to load it into our code, right? So to do that, let's first import OS. Import OS. So OS is basically the library that lets us interact with the operating system. So import OS, then the next will be from .env. We need to import load.env. Okay. Now from there we need to from LangChain underscore Groq. Now import chat scope. Now instead of hard coding, sorry, I think there's an error here. Now instead of hard coding our API keys directly to this code, we just need to save it in our .env file and then load it directly on our code here. Right? So this from LangChain underscore Groq imports chat Groq. This imports the LangChain integration for Groq AI. Alright, so next we're going to do load.env. Okay. So this basically tells Python to load all the key value pairs from your .env file into your environment. So basically before starting this, you have to be familiar with Python so that you can understand what we are actually coding here, right? Okay, now next thing is to go retrieve our API key. We're going to say block. Okay, I'll just get API key. So to be os.getEnv. So this will go get our Groq API key directly from our .env file to go fetch the value for our Groq API key. Now after that, we need to initialize Groq model. So to do that, let's call this model equal to chat Groq in model. So let's go to Groq Cloud and take a specific Llama model. So we'll be working with this Llama 3.3 versatile. Let's copy that and go paste it. Alright, so next we're searching our API key, which is basically this Groq API key here. So alright. So this is just trying to initialize a chatbot model. So basically this line is saying, hey, I want to use Groq Llama 3.370p versatile, and here's my API key so that you can authenticate me. So let's try running this. And once it's done, we can move into creating our prompt templates. Alright, it ran successfully. So sorry I missed this. For requirements.tst files, right? Because I already have these libraries installed. That was why I didn't actually encounter an error of things like OS modulo not available, something like that. So before you start, you need to install this here requirement.tst, and all you need to do is just need to run this command pip install -r requirements.tst. So this will basically install all these libraries in your requirement.tst file, right? So before you can start running this, in case you encounter an issue of module not found, just know that it might be from the problem of not installing these libraries. Let's move over to the next one. Let's start our prompt templates. So let's copy the code. Let's open the code and let's import prompt template from LangChain. So let's say from LangChain, LangChain .prompts imports prompt templates. Right? So this gives us access to prompt templates. Prompt templates is a tool to help us create structured prompts with variables. Instead of writing messy or hard coding your prompt, you can just build a clean, reusable prompt templates, right? So now that I've imported the prompt templates, let's create a prompt. So for this prompt, I'm going to be translating text from English to French. So let's call this translation. So let's give it a prompt. Translate the following English text to French. Alright. So this is where the test will be. So this is telling your base. This is actually your base point. You're basically telling AI, whatever test I give you in this test in curly bracket, right? Translate it to French. So this test is like a placeholder, just like variables in Pythons and so on. Like this is just like a placeholder, right? So whatever test you give here will be translated to French. So now the next thing to do is to create the prompt template. So this is actually our base prompt. So let's create the prompt templates. Let's say prompt templates. Let's start prompt templates. The bottom prompts. Yeah. Now for our prompt template, we have to go for two things, which is input variables and templates. So let's give the input variables. Our input variables will be so our input variable will actually be this placeholder that we specified here. This placeholder, sorry, that we specified here. So I space that. Alright. So next we have templates. Now templates will be the full base prompt. So let's keep it full base prompt. So translation. Now this is where you're building the actual prompt template. So now this is the actual prompt template. This input variable is basically our placeholder, and this template is the full base template. Alright. So now let's try to test out these prompt templates and see if first let's run this. Okay, so now let's go test out these prompt templates. Let's use sample query. From the query. Let's say kind let's say hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. And how are you doing, Laura? Okay. So these are sample query. Right. So this like simulating a input test, like this input test right here. This just simulating, we're trying to test it out to see if it actually works. So we have to do something before actually running this. We have to format the prompts. So to do that, say formatted. Formatting the prompts means we have to replace this in the prompts. You have to replace this right here, this placeholder right here in the prompt. You have to replace it with this our hello good morning, which is our sample underscore query, right? So let's format it. Formatted prompts. Formatted prompt to report to prompts underscore templates dot format. So this is the function that we're using to format the prompts. So what's actually our formatting? We're telling it that this test is equal to sample query. So we're telling that this test right here should be replaced with this right here, right? So this how the formatting works. So before we actually evolve LLM model, let me show you how it will look like. Let's print this formatted response, and let me show you something. Now see, it replaced this text right here with hello good morning, how are you doing? These inputs that we gave right here. Now let's try running this with our LLM model and see the response that we get from our LLM model. Now to do that, we have to evoke that model. Let's call this response equal to model dot invoke. Alright, formatted underscore prompts. Okay. Now let's print response. Let's try running that and see. Okay, yeah. So it's actually worked. It's translated the following English text to French. So, hello, good morning. How are you doing? This is actually what it means in French. Bonjour, bon élément. I'm not good at speaking French, right? So I can really say this. Now, this is actually how a prompt template work. So you can use multiple input variables. Right now, you're just using one input variable here, just this. But you can actually use multiple input variable. Let's try it. Let's try using 3 input variables. Oh, hold on. Let's delete this. Let's try using multiple input variables. Now let's just go copy this and Make some changes to it. So, yeah. So for the translation, for now we're using 3 input variables. So we're going to change this. Let's say for example, we're building an application that writes cover letters or help users apply for job, right? So we're going to be needing some key input values from users. Let's call this job app. So for this, let's say the prompt will be, I'm writing short cover letter. Hold on. Cover letter. For let me create my name manually right now. Yes. So applying to the rules of AI engineer at Google. Right. So this is how our account should be. But since we want to make it dynamic, we are using fan application where we don't really know what the rules of the user should be. Something we have to make some of these variables dynamic. So one will be the name. Let's call this name. Second will be the role. So not everyone will be applying for AI engineer role. So third will be the complaint. Right, let's call it complaint. Yeah. So for the input variables, it will be first change the input variable. It will be for name, role, and complaint. Then for the templates, our template will be this job that we just specified. Let's run this. Good. Let's add an else here. So okay, let's run it again. And so the next one will be testing out this prompt template to see if it's actually works. So let's test this out. Let's press this. But before that, we need to specify these input variables. Let's say for name. Sorry. Let's say person. Let's give teachings. Let's say job role. And then finally come to name. Let's call it Google. Alright. Now for the formatted prompt, let's add formatted prompt templates, changing the variables. Okay. So this will no longer be prompt_templates. I add an S here, so it will be prompt_templates. Okay. So for what you're formatting, first will be the name. So name will be equal to this specified here. Another will be role. And role is equal to this job role. Finally, company. So it will be this company name was specified here. Right? Let's see how the format will be before we try running it. It's LLM. Okay, so this is how the format. It's write a short, a cover letter of talking applying to the role of AI engineer at Spoken. Let's say we change this to John or Jake. Okay, write a cover letter for Jake applying to the role of AI engineer. So we see that it makes your prompt dynamic. Now, let's do one more thing. Let's invoke our LLM. Thank you. Sorry. Okay, so and I'm saying, dear hiring manager, I am excited to apply for the AI engineer position at Google. You can leverage my unique blend of technical expertise and passion for the web and all that. So this basically took multiple input variables, which are name, role, and company, um, formatted it, then our LLM was invoked, which now use that particular prompts that was mattered by the prompt templates to give us this cover letter specifically to our own need.